Welcome to Centenary's Founders Day Convocation. This is one of three formal convocations we have every year, counting commencement. We're excited to be here. It's going to be a wonderful ceremony. I would ask that you stay standing, find your hymnal in front of you, and turn to page 117. Sing with a full heart, one of the great hymns of our tradition, Isaac Watts, "O God, our help in ages past."
Will you please join me in an attitude of prayer? God of ages, God of all generations who came before us, we invoke your blessing on this gathering of our Centenary family, our trustees, faculty, staff, students, and guests, especially the Honorable Judge Carl Stewart. May the message he offers today inspire and motivate us to higher callings. With grateful hearts, we are indebted to the college founders whom we honor today. We remember them and celebrate their passion, foresight, and commitment that gave us this hallowed institution. Help our students discover their vocation in life's work, utilizing those gifts that you have endowed in them and in all of us. Grant wisdom and knowledge to all who walk these halls at Centenary College so that we may be faithful servants and community leaders in this global world, not only today, yet in the future. For this we pray in your holy name. Amen.
Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. There you go. Thank you for being here today for Founders Day. As I reflected on Founders Day and thought about what is a founder, I thought about the sort of standard, someone who begins something, right? Someone who founds a college in this instance. But for me, because Centenary College is an ongoing, living institution with individuals that encompass that, it's very important that it's an ongoing founding. And what does that mean? And for me, a founder, a very important characteristic of a founder is someone who takes action on behalf of the institution and the individuals within it. And I want to tell you, as I'm introducing him, that our president, Christopher Holloman, I think, embodies that, taking action. I'm about to fall off of this. I'm just going to say, if I do, somebody catch me. I want to tell you a few actions that he's taken in the time that he's been here. Sorry, you got up to a little bit too soon, didn't you? But you can stand and just hear this out. In the time that he has been here, President Holloman has implemented not one but two strategic plans with action items in each of those plans that have been accomplished and continue to be accomplished, including adopting a new college mission, starting new academic programs like kinesiology and sport management, starting new athletic teams like lacrosse, cross country, and football, as we know. I almost forgot, which is crazy to think about, that he successfully led this college through a worldwide pandemic. He has grown enrollment, including the largest class this last fall in over 2 decades. He started our first capital campaign in over 20 years. He has developed community and business partnerships along with the phrase that we all hold dear now to be Shreveport-Bossier's College. He started the Learning Commons, which has provided student and faculty and staff support that we've never seen before. In the midst of all of this, he is one of the most engaged administrators I have ever seen, attending performances, competitions, lectures, and more. He continues to take action, including innovative learning programs, the capital campaign for the renovation and addition of our science building, and more. And most importantly, as a founder and a leader, he shows up every day. And y'all, I'm going to tell you, he does not want to show up every day. Because, and he didn't tell me that, but it's not an easy job. It's not easy to be a founder. It's not easy to be a leader. But showing up is one of the most important actions that you can take. And so as he steps up to recognize others, please recognize President Christopher Holloman.
Well, that was unexpected. Thank you.
Now it is my pleasure to read the names of individuals that we will be honoring for their service and their time at Centenary College, and President Holloman will present their pins and awards. For tenure pin, she is actually not with us today because she is out doing hard work on behalf of the college recruiting. A tenure pin for Mrs. Lauren Hawkins, so do give her a round of applause. We have several individuals for 20-year pins, and I'm going to note that they're sitting on the front row for the first time, maybe. Dr. Scott Cheerhart, Professor of Biology. For 20 years of service, we recognize Mr. Chris Derrick in Information Technology. And I want you to prepare yourself for a big round of applause for this one. For 40 years, we recognize Dr. Jeff Hendricks,
And as Karen and I tag team, there's one more 20-year pin to present. Provost, Dr. Karen Soul. It's my pleasure to present 4 awards this morning before we hear from our distinguished speaker. The first is the Charlton Lyons Summer Research Award, which is awarded to, believe it or not, a faculty member who's proposing exciting summer research this year, who will be doing research at the National Archives Branch in College Park, Maryland, Dr. Chad Fullwider. I'm glad our student athletes have done such a good role model of making sure you get your exercise during this. The next award is the President's Excellence Award. This award recognizes the superior service of an outstanding Centenary College administrator or staff employee and will be consistent with the Outstanding Teacher Award. We are looking, as it says, for the employee who goes above and beyond their job description, one who you can count on to assist where needed and extends that extra effort for the benefit of the Centenary community. I received nominations from faculty, staff, and students, and consulting with the cabinet, make a decision. Here are some of the excerpts from the nominations that this individual received. I can't think of a more deserving recipient. Every time I have had to come to her with a question or a problem, she is always a consistent, constant professional. I can never thank her enough for what she does for me and the college. I think sometimes we overlook just how much stuff she handles on a daily basis. Even when she has so much going on in her own life, she is always looking to help you if you need it. Simply imagining the absolute number of emails that she receives and has to sift through would have me waking in a cold sweat. She has had such a huge role to play in everything that makes us Centenary by doing the invisible, often thankless work of making sure that we keep it all together. The work that she is doing is integral to the success of Centenary, and it is for this reason that I enthusiastically nominate her for the President's Excellence Award. This year's Presidential Excellence Award recipient is Ms. Lauren Calloway. The next award is one of the most highly valued awards here, well, all of these today, but this is the Outstanding Teacher Award, and again, we received nominations from the entire campus community. This year we had 53 submissions, nominations for 14 individual faculty members. That makes it a pretty hard job to decide who we recognize. Each year we do recognize one of these faculty as an outstanding teacher for their teaching excellence, ability and excellence in advising, college service, mentoring, and campus leadership. Again, just some excerpts from a number of nominations that this individual got. Every day I went to her class, I learned something new and had fun while doing it. She is an amazing teacher who truly cares for her students. She's been an excellent professor in class, but also goes above and beyond outside of class. She is always available outside of class time for any questions. Continually goes above and beyond for her students. And if I have to interject here, I read, and as I read these, I must have read above and beyond 30 times. This person clearly goes above and beyond for her students to help with academics and extracurriculars. Her lectures are engaging, structured, and effective in conveying complex topics in an understandable way. I can confidently say she has proven herself as a transformative leader on campus. She'll be there for you through everything, even if you just need to rant to her in her office. She fights for the students and is a strong voice for all of our needs. She is determined to do anything to ensure that we are provided with multitudes of career opportunities and learning experiences. She brings lighthearted and fun classes to the science department, and we wouldn't know what to do without her. One brief nomination, she is outstanding. And finally, there are no amount of words to express how grateful I am to have been able to be taught, mentored, and advised by her. She has given me insurmountable insight that I use pretty much each and every day. Our outstanding teacher this year is Dr. Rebecca Murphy. And finally, it's my honor and privilege to present the Mary Celeste Reagan Alumni Trailblazer Award. This is a fairly new award on campus. The award recognizes the achievements of a Black alumnus from Centenary who embodies the spirit of Mary Celeste Reagan as well as Centenary's mission and values. A little bit about Mrs. Reagan. In 1969, Mary Celeste Reagan became the first Black student to graduate from Centenary College of Louisiana. She has attended Caddo Parish Public Schools from her elementary through high school years. With an early interest in music, she sang in church choirs and the choir at Booker T. Washington High School. She enrolled at Wiley College in Marshall, Texas to study music education, then transferred to Centenary. She earned a Bachelor of Music degree in music education from Centenary College in 1969. She's a retired elementary music specialist, having taught for 35 years the fundamentals of music to students in the Caddo Parish Public Schools. The award named after her have criteria of professional achievement and leadership, contributions, mentorships, and service to the Black community and advancement of education and scholarship. We had to do a little finagling here. Judge Stewart is an honorary alumnus of Centenary College, but is a true trailblazer, and so he does fit the criteria. At this point, I'd ask Dr. LaToya Pierce to come and help me present the award. Dr. Pierce, of course, is our Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. At this point, I will, you had a part left out of my script. You're going to have to read Judge Stewart's bio yourself in your program. He has done an amazing job. He is a true trailblazer. We are honored to present this award to him, and then I will turn the podium over to him for his reflection. Judge Carl Stewart.
Good morning again. Morning. Have to use your theater voice when you're in the chapel. Good morning and thank you so much. Connie, don't start the stopwatch until I do my felicitations. This does not count against my time. I have to do my thanks first. She's got a stopwatch on me, Doctor, so even though she's in the back of the room, I think she has a little something she might stick if I go too far here. But thank you so much. It's just a joy and a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Dr. Holloman, for your very kind and generous introduction. I first want to acknowledge the presence of my wife, Joanne, my daughter, Judge Korea Stewart, my immediate family, my church family, my pastor, Dr. Derek Hills, and my church members are out there, and others in the church. The audience is sprinkled with various friends and longtime supporters. I can't see them all through my bifocals, but I know you're out there, so I appreciate it, and I want to acknowledge you. Some of my chamber staff is here today to support me, and I appreciate that very much. I do want to give a quick shout out to Connie Whittington. Connie's been the common denominator through all the presidents I've served under, and she's just so wonderful and gracious, and in all the meetings that I came to out here, she just always made life wonderful for me. So Connie, thank you as you've reached out to me for this event. Just know that I continue to appreciate and enjoy calling and hearing your smile through the phone. Life truly is about relationships. I have to acknowledge Chaplain Lindy Broderick. We were commiserating in the back. Lindy, as I'll say, we met way back in the 70s in Leadership Shreveport. My hair was black at the time and, was young, thinner, and so forth. And so she worked for the chamber, and later I ended up on the chamber board. And so, Lindy, great to see you, how God has transformed you and me since those days. But a lot of what I'm going to talk about is about relationships. And so it's just wonderful how, I'm a beneficiary of the prayer of Jabez. God has enlarged my territory richly, and so I'm here because of that. So I want to thank Dr. Holloman and the University Committee for selecting me to receive the Mary Celeste Reagan Alumni Trailblazer Award. I appreciate the warmth and graciousness you, Dr. Holloman, have extended to me leading up to the day. Fortunately, you and I serve on the Norwell Council Boy Scout Executive Board. I can't seem to shake all my extracurricular activities, George, so we have a chance to work together on that. But I certainly embrace supporting you as my fourth Centenary president to work with. I sincerely appreciate the intentionality of Centenary College in creating this award that salutes alumni who are deemed trailblazers. As I reflect back on my personal and professional life, I have been blessed and favored many times to serve in a first one, only one role. Being the first one and only one is often a role thrust upon you as opposed to something you necessarily seek out. At least that has typically been the situation with me. This status often carries some unwanted and sometimes unnecessary baggage, some additional challenges, unnecessary scrutiny, and perceptions by other people. And frankly, not everybody wants to be a first one, only one. They say, call me when some other people are willing to do it, but I don't want to do it by myself. And so that's just one of those things about being first one, only one, sort of goes with the territory. So some people shake it off and say, call me later. Other people step to the front and move forward. And so others of us just pray our way through, Chaplain, and we treat these assignments as windows of opportunity of personal and professional growth and enrichment, and an avenue that we can share our time, talent, and treasure for the benefit of others. So occasions like today trigger many memories about trailblazing events in my life, though I've never allowed myself to dwell on those. Let me say just again, as relationship, the award is named after Mary Celeste Reagan. Life is about relationships. Mary Reagan and Henrietta Reagan lived across the street from me when I was in junior high in the 2900 block of Poland Street. Henrietta and I went to elementary school together. Mary went to Washington. When I did, she was ahead of me, was a class ahead of my brother. So who knew, right? And so Hendretta went to school with my wife at Union, so we've known each other. So though she's not here, who knew that all these years later to get an award that's named after her? But I salute her for her being first one, only one, come to Centenary when she transferred, and so I give her a shout out as well. It's impossible for me to share all the thoughts that I have about Centenary in the few minutes that Connie allotted me and reminded me of. However, I'm glad she's in the back. Watching my watch here. Anyway, my children say it takes me more than 12 minutes to say grace over the food. So this is called the 12-minute challenge. It reminds me, Doctor, when you go get that oil changes, the place they say, oh, you don't need to get out your car. We'll have it done before you can get out your car. So I was trying not to, but there are some thoughts I do want to leave because of it. I decided I'd share some reflections that I have about serving as on the Board of Trustees under 3 Centenary presidents. In my view, life is, in general, is so much about relationships that we make. I'm aware of President American Don Webb's, I think 2009 founders, and he walked through the founders and the brick and mortar and so on and so forth. That's not my task today. You heard that. And so I want to walk through what I'd say Centenary College, an historic haven for nurturing great relationships. And so I want to talk about that as we move forward. My tenure started with Dr. Don Webb, who, as you know, served 14 years as president of Centenary. One day, while I was minding my own business on the First Judicial District Court, I had run for state court. There were no blacks on the district court at that time. The one black that had been on, Paul Lynch, had died of a heart attack, and I was approached by a lot of good people. I think even George was in the bunch that approached me back then about running. And I said, well, you know, I don't know about all that, and thanks, but no thanks. It was a very racially polarized time. But nonetheless, I ran against 2 opponents, one a sitting state representative, and, you know, I won with 50.9% of the vote last contested election I ever had. So God blesses us. And so for good people that got me started, why do I mention that? Because I think Dr. Webb had to know of me from that, because I did not know him personally. I knew who he was and of him. I was the first African-American Shreveport district lay leader. I was also the first African-American Louisiana Conference lay leader, first one, only one back in those days. So I've got a lot of tread on my tires even through the church connections, and so I suspect he knew. So he called me one day and asked me if I would consider being a trustee at Centenary. And I said, well, I'm not really looking for other things to do. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm age 35. When I'm elected, I'm on a bench with older judges. You know, I'm trying to do my due. People are scrutinizing me. I need to be paying attention to my craft. And in Dr. Webb's own sort of cordial way, and he put that English charm on you, those of you who know him, and he kind of smoothed me, and not being a good lawyer, I didn't ask all the questions I should have asked. Nonetheless, I said, okay, I'll try it. So my vision is I'll serve one term, rotate off, and so forth. Notably, he did not tell me that he was retiring. And so I thought I was going to serve under him, but no, not so. So I guess one of his final acts before retiring was that he nominated me to the Board of Trustees. I said, well, this will be like my years in the Army. I'll serve my term. They'll give me an honorable discharge, and I'm out of here. And that's the way I looked at it. I never would have thought that I would go on to serve 23 years as a Centenary trustee under 3 presidents, and so I'm proud of the time that I served as a trustee here, even though it was somewhat providential, the way that I got the call and answer. But often God blesses us through other people, and you sometimes don't know exactly where the blessing is coming from, but if you look through it, often you'll make the right decision to press ahead. And so my tenure really began after his retirement. So my second president was Dr. Kenneth Schwab. Dr. Schwab came in 1991, served 18 years, different personality, and so life was robust on the board, lots of things going on. My head was swimming and so forth, trying to catch up with the college and all the things that were going on. Fortunately, it was here in Shreveport, so I made many a trip down Centenary Boulevard out here to meet him. Now, if it was back then, I took say to Connie, can I zoom in? But you know, this is pre-Zoom, so you know, I had to get in my car and crank up and drive out here. And so I did, and I learned so much about the college, its history, just the zeal and passion of the trustees who served, ones who came from out of town, from Houston and so forth to serve. So I considered it an honor to be a part of this and participate as I can. As I recall, back then, Reverend Kenneth Fisher, I know, was on the board, and I think later Dr. Darrell Mitchell. And so however many trustees there are, 40-something or whatever, that was in. And I think Connie's got the roll book out of 23 years, Dr. I don't think I missed any meetings, really. I don't think I missed a meeting, a committee meeting or whatever. You know, when you first one, only one, you don't want to be what? Conspicuously absent, right? So you show up. But decisions are made by the people who what? Show up. And so for me, the thing is, if I'm going to do this and participate, I need to go to the meeting. Frankly, I found leaving the rigors of deciding complex civil litigation in the courts, I found my trek to Centenary often to be therapeutic. To come out to the grounds, to walk, just the tranquility of the campus office was transformational. And so even though I was coming for meetings, it was a different spirit that enriched me when I was here. But it struck me that in the board meetings, and we go back, George's dad, George Nelson Sr., I don't know how many years he served as the chair, George, but it was a lot of them. I was there like, I didn't know you could do that. But anyway, he served a lot of years on the board, and I was just captured by the passion and dedication of the trustees and staff for this small college. Now, I have to tell you, having grown up in Shreveport in the racially polarized 1950s and 60s, I didn't have a clue where Centenary was. Centenary might as well have been on the eastern or western seaboard. You know, it just was out of my element to know anything about it. That's just the way the world grew. So who knew that I would come out here and serve? But one of the most memorable things about the time with Dr. Schwab, I think I remember, was the rancorous discussions about Centenary as a D1 school in athletics and the rigors over being D3, and I was like, holy smoke. I mean, you talk about some passionate viewpoints about being D1 in a little bitty school and being D3 and all of that. I said, what have I gotten myself into? And so I did more listening than anything. I have to tell you, George, when I heard not long ago that Centenary was bringing football back, I'm like, I'm flashing back. I wish I was a fly on the wall to hear discussions about that. But anyway, the football coach, Coach Dawson, his dad was a good friend, Reverend Dawson. I bought many flowers from Dawson Flower Shop. It's all about relationships, right? So at any event, but what I want to say, despite the passionate disagreements about D1 versus D3, what struck me was the utmost civility and professionalism of the discussions. It never became personal and passionate. And that, just, to me, was supremely reflective of being a church-related school, a liberal arts school that most of all is in the business of teaching and modeling good relationships and good exchange, even if we disagree about points of view. And so it was during those years that I did get my credentials, Doc, that in 1997 and 98, Dr. Schwab says, we want to make you an honorary alumnus. And so I'm thinking, okay, what does that mean? But anyway, I was grateful for it, and so here I am with the credentials to receive the award. One of the best things that happened is that as a member of the trustees, I was assigned to student engagement. That meant working with the students, and that was in my wheelhouse because I really enjoyed working with the students. Sometimes the discussion was about the quality of the food or not by Sodexo. Sometimes the conversation was about residence halls. In my day, we called them dormitories. But often the discussions were on a higher plane, and so working with the students was just tremendous. My first speech out here in Convocation was January 15th, 1998. Dr. Schwab invited me to give the Dr. Martin Luther King Convocation. That's the first time that I spoke out here. It was a tremendous honor, and I'm grateful to him for affording me that opportunity. It also was the time when I chaired student engagement that the college hired David Womack. David Womack was an African-American male. Centenary didn't have a lot of people of color in its staffing, so it was a great moment in the college's history to hire David. He came on, he saw me, we still get off on seeing people who look like us in the space, and so it invigorated David to do his work, and I was glad to be supportive of him, and so he was doing great things, and one day we got the word that David had had a massive heart attack and died. And so I, like everybody else, my heart was broken, and so I'm grateful to Centenary that you now give the David Womack award to deserving persons, and so that was great. And so being an honorary alum, I'm proud of and so much grateful to Dr. Schwab, and so he retired in 2009, and so, as a board member, we're on a presidential search, and that was fun. Well, not really, but at any event, sitting through presidential searches and the teams and all that, those who were there know those are interesting times. I'll just put it like that. And so at any event, Dr. David Rowe became the president in 2009. Dr. Rowe's leadership style was different than Dr. Schwab's, but nonetheless, the board maintained its zeal in serving. And so sometime at that point, George, within 2012, I became Chief Judge of the United States Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. I had been appointed presidential in 1994. Seniority was there, and once you become Chief Judge, you're like the Chief Operating Officer, so in addition to my caseload, I had an enormous amount of administrative responsibility for courts in 3 states, 5,280 employees, all these courthouses traveling, et cetera, and so I just didn't see I could keep coming out here to all those meetings, but I was looking for an off-ramp, but there wasn't one, but it was kind of like my Army duty. I just didn't want to resign, just didn't want to go there. So I said, I'm going to tough it out, serve until the end of my term, and then, probably get the off-ramp. But before that happened in 2013, the absolute highlight of my time here was in 2013, when under President Rowe, my dad and I were both given honorary degrees here at Centenary. And that was a premium moment for many reasons. The quickie is the Cliff Notes. When I was 4 years old, my dad worked for the post office and sought to buy a house under his GI Bill and the Federal Home Administration for us in a neighborhood near Chuella. And there were about 30 or 40 other guys who wanted to do the same. They did all the plans, et cetera, et cetera. Then a white Baptist church lodged opposition that the subdivision that was going to be built for Negroes was too close to them, and then a social club lodged opposition. They leveraged their influence with the police, jury, and with the city, and passed an ordinance so that electricity, water, and sewage could not be hooked up to the subdivision, so who wants to live in a house that doesn't have those things? Fast forward, that didn't go well, so my dad was the lead plaintiff in a class action that was filed in federal court, same federal court I work in. At that time, he had local lawyer Justice Stone, but among the lawyers who came down was Constance Baker Motley, who had worked with Thurgood Marshall in the school cases, but housing was her specialty. So my dad was her chauffeur when she came to town. She stayed with Wilson, et cetera. So my dad put his letter carrier job in jeopardy, filed this lawsuit, and they sued. And so anyway, it was filed in federal court despite all the depositions and so on and so forth, which I've read. The good old federal judge poured it out in a page and a half and 17 footnotes and says there's no claim that you have under the Constitution, and so that was the end of that. My mother never got over not getting a house, but my dad was not bitter. My dad was a fount, as I say, an oasis of optimism, and so he was a trailblazer in his own right, and so there's been some publicity about that, and that schemata of the college bestowed upon him the Doctor of Humane Letters in the 2013 commencement, and I received the Doctor of Humane Letters. That was a trailblazing, pivotal event in my life and my family, my brothers-in-law appreciate it so much. And so Centenary has a proud heritage of great relationships being nurtured. If I had the time, I could single out the names of so many people who served on the board, all the board chairs, and so on and so forth. But I'm richly blessed by the times that I spent here. Reverend William Peoples, who was the district superintendent, he was my prayer partner during the time of these meetings, and so on and so forth. And so there's so many wonderful people that I met as a result of saying yes to Dr. Webb. Sometimes you just have to say yes, pray your way through, God will bless you and give you what you need in order to navigate. And so 23 years later, there I was, and I said to George, then George Nelson Jr. was the president, sent me the letter about re-upping as the Army would say. And I said, well, George, I don't think I can keep doing this as a result of my busy schedule. And so that is how, Dr. Hallman, I was not here when you came on because the Fifth Circuit had just gotten its way with me. But at any event, I conclude by just wanting to give thanks to the college so much and to begin where I started out. Life is lived out in terms of relationships. The quality of one's life is directly related to the quality of relationships that we build. Most people we encounter may look differently, talk differently, believe differently, whatever, but we still have to learn to engage. And to me, one of the hearts of being a liberal arts school is to teach people to think critically, but also to have the heart in what they do. Centenary is a champion in nurturing that to its students, not only to be smart in the books and pass the tests, etc., but how to navigate through the difficult spheres and byways with people who are smart. You know, I work with people who haven't been wrong since kindergarten. You know, they're the smartest people in the world. There's no way but their way, you know, and you're like, really? And so, you know, you can't just smack people. You know, you got to build, you have to learn how to do it, and that's the world we live. So I want to conclude by giving my kudos to Centenary for its commitment, its fidelity through the years to nurture not only very smart, bright people, but to do the things that liberal arts colleges do best. And that is to nurture great individuals, great people, and great relationships. So I thank you for all that you've given to me. I stand ready to support you as you move ahead in the transformation of the world, and may God continue to bless and keep you in all that you do.
Thank you, Judge Stewart. Thank you for all you've done in your remarkable life and your continued engagement as a leader in our community. I want to thank a couple of other people. Thanks to Connie Whittington and Lauren Calloway, who helped put this ceremony together. Thanks to the choir, as always, wonderful. Thanks to Dr. Watson, who I'm going to charge for hearing aid, but you're always great. Love the music. Thank you. As you can tell, Karen's warm words took me by surprise, but inspired by Judge Stewart's remarks. I want to say all those things she said, you know, I had a role in. The only one that I did by myself was coming to work. Everything else I am indebted to the people in this room, the support of the trustees, but most especially the hands and the voice and the hard work of the faculty and staff. You all do it. And to the students who make the whole job worthwhile. So I thank you all for that. And with that, I'm going to ask you to stand, sing the alma mater, receive the benediction from Reverend Broderick, and then wait for the academic procession before you head to lunch. Thanks everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. Go forth into the world to build those relationships, strengthened by the foundation of those who came before you. Celebrate the life within you and let that abundance overflow to all those around you. Go forth to be brave, to be bold, and to be kind. Amen.